All right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, he is the voice of the Campbell Fighting Camels. He actually has a really cool title that pays him all the dollars. But for me, being the play-by-play voice of a school is like the biggest position. Jeff Charles and Woody Durham and Gary Hahn and Bob Harris. I pretty much thought those guys ran the school anyway. So I'm talking to Chris Hemeyer, the play-by-play voice today. How you doing, Chris?
Man, I'm a great clip. I am nowhere near the caliber of play-by-play guy that those great names that you said. But as you know, our good friend Jeff Charles, whenever we play ECU, a lot of stuff comes up, and especially over the last couple of years, and him not being here, man, if it wasn't for him, he was one of my references. And when I told him that I applied to Campbell University to get this job, that was just play-by-play at the time. He made a call and got my resume to the top of the list. So I think of him every time I go on air, and of course, when we go to Purple and Gold Country as well.
Jeff steered me to pirate radio. So like he knows where each person should go. He knew this would be my peak. He had higher aspirations for you, Chris, but no, Jeff Charles, actually as we record this was his normal time to chat with me on Wednesdays every day. So yeah, we miss him, man. He's always up in our studio, bobblehead on the table. So think about him every day, man. He's an all timer. But Chris, he would be fired up to call an ECU Campbell game this week, and let's go ahead and get to some guys to watch for the Camels. How about the quarterback and his weapons, Chris? Who are some names and numbers to watch out for Pirate fans this Saturday?
Well, it's one of the greatest names in all of football this year, FCS or FBS. Campbell's starting quarterback is a young man by the name of Cam Six Killer, and he wears number 6. He was a starter at McNeese State. He ended up transferring here. He is a big weapon. Some people will remember at the end of last year, Campbell had a pretty good quarterback as well, thrust into the starting role because of injury. He played the last third of the season. His name was Mike Chandler II, a Lamar transfer, a great dual threat quarterback. He's still very much in the mix here for Campbell. He didn't win the job coming out of camp, and mainly the reason was, Clip, because Cam Six Killer was pretty good back there, a little bit more accurate, but they wanted to use Mike Chandler II on the field at the same time. So Chandler played about 40 snaps in Campbell's opener, a loss against top 10 ranked Rhode Island. He was in the slot. He was at the X. He was in the running back position. He was in motion. He was taking sweeps. And then he went into the Wildcat for a couple times and scored a touchdown out of the Wildcat. So Campbell has a very unique thing going with them on purpose, as they have two really good quarterbacks, and the one that's out there pretty much all the time doing a little bit of everything. So those are two big weapons, and a big weapon that a name that Eastern North Carolina fans will remember is Rocky Mount's own, from Northern Nash High School, Randall King. King is a 6'2 receiver. He's a sophomore. He ended up being Campbell's really good number 2 receiver last year. He's the number 1 receiver this year. He could be playing Division I basketball somewhere. He was that good of a basketball player, made all-star teams, all-district teams as well. So it's fun. Campbell definitely has some weapons on offense, a little banged up at running back, but they have some guys that can get it offensively, and also at receiver, a guy that's a new name, Spencer Jones, a transfer from Duke, who's a junior, had 5 catches last week as well.
Chris, I think the Pirates will try to get the run game going this week because it did not work against NC State. Caden Hauser did have over 360 passing yards, so I think they'll try to put that on display as well. But how about, Pirates run game, O-line versus Campbell's D-line? Is that, anytime you play FBS versus FCS, that's something that the FCS side has to worry about, the lines?
Yeah, that's going to be big, and it's so hard to compare, but there are some positives for Campbell. The defense was retooled this past year. It was one of Campbell's weak points last year in year one. They got a lot of personnel. They got a lot of guys that have a lot more experience, but they did pretty darn well against Rhode Island. A lot of people who, of course, are not FCS fans don't know much about Rhode Island, but they are a football-only member of the CAA. They're ranked in the top 10 this year, co-champions of the CAA last year, won an FCS playoff games. They are picked to win the league this year. They have 5 dudes on the offensive line that are either seniors or grad seniors or 6-year guys, and literally one of the most experienced lines as far as starts go in all of FCS, and probably a lot of FBS as well. And Campbell was able to limit Rhode Island, who loves to run, to just 109 yards rushing. So again, much different. We're talking about much different guys. If it's a really good FCS line, a really good FBS line, that is a lot different, and Campbell knows that. But we'll see how they can do against the Pirates, especially, as you mentioned, a Pirate team that wants to establish that run.
Chris, I'm sure we'll see a decent amount of orange in the stands coming up Saturday, 6 o'clock, as Campbell does travel well here in baseball and hoops and all the sports that they play against East Carolina. I look at the schedule and say, okay, NC State still looming on October 4th. But, Chris, how about when it comes to league and conference, what are the biggest games you're looking at down the road for Campbell that say, hey, if you win this one, you got a shot to do something this year?
Yeah, a lot of those are on the back end. You mentioned the tough schedule. Last year, Campbell and Braxton Harris, Campbell's head coach first year, had the top 10 ranked toughest schedule in all of FCS. Right now, it's top 35, but I think by the end of the year, a lot of these teams that are just hanging outside of the rankings will be into it. And these first 6 games you mentioned, I mean, they're a killer. We talk about opening up with the top 10 team. You have the 2 FBS teams. That is what it is. But Campbell will come back home next week, take on Furman, who is a team that was in the top 25 in FCS for most of the year. And then 2 weeks later, they'll take on a Western Carolina team who is ranked in the top 25, and then go to NC State. So I'm telling a lot of people, like, we've already seen that I think this is a Campbell team that is better on both sides of the ball and in special teams than they were last year. You might not see that record-wise until you get to the last half of the season. And by the time Campbell gets to the last half of the season, it'll be 6 CAA games, 4 to 5 to 6 teams out of the CAA usually making the FCS playoffs. So you got to look at games that Campbell have at home against William and Mary, against Elon. If Campbell can go 1-1 in their 2 CAA games at the beginning of this year, they'll have a chance to make the FCS playoffs for the first time. So again, when you take a look at the standings and think, oh man, maybe Campbell is sliding back, that's not necessarily the case. They just have a really, really tough schedule and have a chance to get some wins on the second half of it.
Chris Hemeyer joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, breaking down Campbell football. And producer Jared might just edit out the rest of our conversation. He's a Raiders fan, but I want to ask you about your Chiefs, Chris.
You always do. That means so much to me. One of the many reasons I come on to get back to our old friends in Pirate Radio is the fact that you're always going to mention something about the Chiefs. So bring it to me, please.
I'm fired up for the NFL. My team actually has a quarterback for the first time in 40 years, Jaden Daniels. So I'm very excited about the NFL. Look, we love to build up individuals and teams, but man, we love to break them down even more. And we're ready for the Alabama dynasty to end. We're ready for Bill Belichick's reign on football to end. And a lot of folks are ready for the Chiefs era and dynasty to end. But as long as Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid are there, that may not happen, Chris. But how do you feel about Kansas City? I mean, last time out, blown out in the Super Bowl. So they've got something to prove coming back this year. What do you think about the Chiefs?
And I think you're absolutely right, Clip. It would be hard to say a team that is, won 3 straight AFC championships, 3 Super Bowls over the last 6 years to have a chip on their shoulder. But you not only have the entire team having a chip on their shoulder, that was not a good performance at all, period, whether you're Patrick Mahomes or not. And then Travis Kelce as well disappeared in that game. So I think, you're always trying to manufacture some kind of motivation, and the Chiefs, believe it or not, don't have to manufacture any of it all. It also is looking like, at all signs, this is going to be Kelce's last year. That's a guy that wants to go out with a bang after what he felt wasn't a good year last year. But you mentioned it perfectly. If you got the coach, and more importantly, you got the quarterback, because Clip, and we talked about it last year when Jaden Daniels was rising to the top. Man, you can have a heck of a defense, and we've seen it sometimes. Trent Dilfer and the Ravens, you can win a Super Bowl with that maybe. But if you don't have the quarterback, or you just have an average quarterback, or if you just have a slightly above average quarterback these days, it's going to be hard. You can get into the playoffs, but it's going to be hard to win in the playoffs. And boy, it is so much fun when you do have that quarterback and you have a guy like Jaden Daniels, like Patrick Mahomes, which it's fun to watch the games because they always do something different and something that makes you go, wow, I'm glad that guy's on my team.
The fun part about this to me is too, like with the Brady dynasty, nobody in the AFC East stepped up, and the Josh Allen era kind of began at least at the tail end or after Brady. That we thought, the Tua era hadn't been much in Miami anyway, but they never had anybody. Now you look at the AFC West. The Chargers have the coach and maybe the quarterback, Harbaugh Herbert. The Broncos might have hit on something with Bo Nix. Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. And even the Raiders, J-Bone, they got a Super Bowl coach. They have at least excitement with Geno Smith to Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. So that excites me that, like, the Chiefs are still kind of in this dynasty, but right there in their own backyard. They might struggle in some games this year.
Right, and I think it makes it even more of a point that you make and shows you how good of a coach and how good of a quarterback they are because, you're right. Like they haven't been rolling over a bad division. What is it? 9 straight AFC West championships or what have you. And it's and that, I mean, that tells you a lot about it right there. And what I'll always tell you, Clip, which again, as we talked about on this show, I think last year during basketball season when we did it, I started noticing before it was like, oh, you're the only Chiefs fan I know. I'm glad they're doing really well when they were making the
right,
first
yeah,
run.
Yeah.
To like even people on my staff who report to me openly hating the Chiefs in front of my face. So I have to talk to him about there is a guy that was born in the late 70s that was a Chiefs fan since then, and the Chiefs not only didn't win a Super Bowl, they didn't go to a Super Bowl between Super Bowl 4 and Super Bowl 50. And I was right there watching the Chiefs every week. So when it does happen, Clip, it means so much more that those of us that didn't kind of ride and follow players in that, but if you love one team, they will eventually one day love you back. And boy, is it worth it then, man.
And that hate is a badge of honor. I talked to Brian Bailey about how much I hate the Cowboys, and he's like, I don't even hate the Commodores. I know we haven't been a threat since the early '90s. Like I want to be hated again. That would be so much fun. Hate me, recognize me, acknowledge me. But yeah, it's fun, man. Looking forward to kicking it off Thursday night. We'll be at the Pirate Radio football kickoff party with Eagles Cowboys going on. And kind of a weird one. I love the new Friday night game. It sneaks up on me every year. I think it just started last year, but your Chiefs will be playing Friday against the Chargers.
Right. Not only Friday against the Chargers, that's a heck of a game. They're playing in Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens there. It's interesting. Campbell opened up their college football season on a Friday. The Chiefs coming up and opening up their season on a Friday because, as you know, they play every single day of the week now and trying to expand that brand down to South America. Interesting that they were able to convince the Chiefs to go, but it should be fun.
Chris, we'll wrap it up here. Campbell gets the FBS upset on Saturday if what happens?
Get off to a quick start and get turnovers. As you know, Campbell won the first quarter against ECU in 2022. There are still some guys around from that team. Again, when you have guys on your team that from the transfer portal working the other way, a lot of guys that have began their career in P4 and FBS teams, they're not going to be terribly intimidated by the environment there. So you get off to a quick start, you have something to prove. And again, Campbell has a lot of playmakers up there. I think they're going to have to score a lot. I think it'll be a shootout, as those usually are if an FCS team can upset an FBS team. But those are the ingredients. But always remember, too, Campbell wins when that ball is kicked off and that check is cashed just outside the stadium. We have somebody that runs it to the local. I don't know who bank sponsors you, but we'll go there. Clip
while the game's going on. Okay.
While the game's going on, we will go there. I'll stay in the booth, but we'll do that. And so no matter what the score is, remember, Campbell wins also. on Saturday night.
I want a picture of Chris with the big oversized novelty
Yeah.
check, shaking
That's
the
what they
hand. Yeah, Jeff.
they bring it in. Petey brings it into me, and I just smile and go like that and say, "You owe me a little bit more, buddy."
Chris, you're the man. I appreciate it. We'll catch up. We'll definitely talk. Let's talk basketball season. I know we'll be talking baseball season with you again when Campbell somehow dominates East Carolina on the diamond. But we'll catch up with you again down the road, man. Always appreciate you joining us.
It'll be great. Thank you so much for thinking of us, and thank you so much for having me on, man. Take it easy, and I'll see you up there hopefully on Saturday.